got a D-Stacks beat?
Yeah, I got a D-Stacks beat. Listen to the beat, y'all. Come on, D-Stacks, bring it in. Hey, 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 hey. Woo! Queens on a roll. Ooh, queens on a roll. Powerful queens on a roll. Beautiful queens, queens, queens on a roll. We're moving, we're grooving, we're jamming, we're slamming. Queens on a roll. We're moving, we're grooving, we're jamming, we're slamming. Queens, queens, queens on a roll. She's educated and inspiring everyone that has challenges. Queens, queens, queens on a roll. She's educated and inspiring everyone and having fun. She's queens on a roll. Woo, queens on a roll. Ooh, queen on a roll. Powerful queens on a roll. Beautiful queens on a roll. Come roll with us. Ooh, come roll with us. Come roll with us. Ooh, come roll with us. Ooh, queen on a roll. Ooh, queen on a roll. Ooh, queen.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Queens on the Road podcast. This is Latavia here, and I have my lovely, awesome sis Janine here with me today. Hey Janine.
Hey Tay.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So today I brought you on the show so that you can talk about what it's like living with CP and being a mom. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's roll.
You got a D-Stacks beat?
So Janine, what is it like living with CP and being a mom?
Well, being a mom and living with CP has its ups and its downs. My son loves to ride on my chair, especially when we go out into Uber. It's convenient for me because I can get to places with him quickly. But in the downside of it, being a disabled mom to an able-bodied child, there are times when he has his moments, as all kids do, and has his tantrums. And when those moments occur, it puts me in a situation where I have to either let his tantrum live out, and then when he finally comes down and I'm able to get to him, then have a talk with him and try to make him understand that mommy has CP and there are things that are difficult for me. And then there are times when I can't calm him down at all and I have to sort out help.
It's interesting, the dynamic, and that's why I really wanted to talk about it. What was it like when you were pregnant?
Girl, the first couple of months was awesome because I'm very small and I had a very small belly. But towards the end, I couldn't stand it because I am 4'11". and I'm very short. And I think by the time he flipped, he was hitting my diaphragm and my ribs, and I couldn't take it no more. I wanted him out.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Did it take a toll because you have cerebral palsy diplegia? Did it take a toll on your body? You know, you're able to get up and you're able to move around. So did that take a toll on you?
Yes, it really did take a toll on me because having CP and having diplegia, your body is used to being stiff and your body is used to being tight. When you get pregnant, everything loosens up to adjust your body to the baby. So my bones and everything was crackling left and right. I could not sleep. I was in so much pain that if you even touched me, I would cry. I couldn't sleep at all.
Oh my goodness. See, that's what I'm nervous about, like being pregnant and having a baby. I can't imagine it right now. So that's why I'm so nervous about it. But how was, delivery and the whole birth experience?
Well, delivery and the birth experience, I say it was normal for the most part. A couple of weeks before I gave birth to my son, I actually had a doctor's appointment and the nurse looked at me because she needed me to uplift the bottom half of my pelvic to do an exam. And she said, no, you need to have a C-section. And I just looked at her, I stood quiet, because I rebuked her in the name of Jesus. And the day of my delivery, she was actually in the room. So a little backtrack. The day before I went into labor, I went out, I had some Chinese food because I had a little craving. So I satisfied my craving and I went home. I started having stomach pain, but I didn't think anything of it. Thought it was just a regular stomach ache and I went to sleep. But I was eating a lot of pineapple for the past couple of weeks because I was sick and tired of being pregnant and I wanted him out. And pineapple has an enzyme that helps you go into labor. So the next day I woke up and I started having contractions and I'm like, okay. And by the time I got to the hospital, I was 7 centimeters dilated. Now, in the delivery room, my body was already adjusted to sitting down the whole 9 months of pregnancy. So my son was coming down normally, but the nurses wanted to force me into laying back down in the bed. I got so frustrated at one point. I told one of the nurses off and I told her, leave my bed alone because my body's already adjusted to sitting. So he's going to come out in that position because my body's adjusted to this position already. And obviously it got to the point where when you're going to give birth, it feels like you need to go to the bathroom and I could not stop pushing. So I did get a numbing block because as you know, having CP, when you're in extreme pain, you go into muscle spasms and your legs will lock. Mm-hmm. So I took the numbing block because I knew that if my legs locked, they were going to C-section me. And plus, they were very pro wanting to C-section me anyway. So I took the numbing block. And when I took the numbing block, my legs went kablop. So I was like, okay, good. But then I couldn't stop pushing because I was already at that point where I really needed to push. And they kept telling me, don't push, because if you keep pushing, we're going to C-section you. And they kept on until I got so frustrated that I was like, you know what, just give me an epidural. Not because of the pain. The pain was horrible. I was actually doing college work while giving labor. So I got the C-section and then my son was born, I think, if I'm not mistaken, at 12:08 a.m.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was scared about because, we take muscle relaxers to relax our body. So I was like, would the epidural really relax you too much where you couldn't control anything during birth? I wasn't sure. So you actually answered some questions for me. Why were you scared about having the C-section?
Because I knew having a C-section and having a new baby, it was going to be very difficult to attend to the baby as well as healing from that C-section, especially in the condition that I am in. So I didn't want to have to be in a predicament where it was going to be a struggle. And my dad's a tough cookie. So, he helped me out a lot, but he also let me be a mom. And there were a lot of people praying for me. So I'm very glad that the Lord kept me from that and I didn't have to be put through that extra unnecessary pain.
Okay. What was infancy like, when he was a couple months old? What was that like?
It was very hard. I went through a very, very, very deep postpartum depression. And this is something that a lot of people don't like to talk about. But when I gave birth to my son, I disassociated completely. Obviously, I kept it to myself. I didn't let the doctors see, but I completely disassociated. It took me a very long time to attach myself to my son. A lot of people, think that giving birth, right away, I was attached to my baby. And there are people that are like that. But for me, it wasn't like that. So I went through a very deep depression. My father helps me out a lot, but it was a lot of crying and it was a lot of feeling lonely. You know, even though I was in my father's house, I was with Janice. It was just us three. He was the one helping me put diapers and changing him and dressing him, being a dad all over again, because he's a dad, you know? So I'm very grateful, but he also let me do it a lot on my own. And I breastfed. I breastfed completely, no formula. So I was so skinny and so dehydrated and so sleep deprived. I actually had a doula. And for the first couple of weeks, she would come by. And one day she came by and I was so sleep deprived that she was talking to me. And I was hysterically laughing at any little thing she was saying to me. She was like, if you don't go to sleep right now. So she took the baby and I went and I took a nap, which I really did need. But it was very hard. My dad really did put me through what us Puerto Ricans call la cuarentena. I did not go out for those full 40 days unless it was to take the baby out to the doctor. My dad taught me in his own way, because he's a father, but he taught me in his own way what a mother goes through. So
yeah, that sounds kind of similar to my mom.
Story time.
Because back in high school, right, we had these mechanical babies and they were like, oh, you should, take them with you, get the full mom experience. So my friends and I, like dummies, we were like, okay, we don't want to leave them in school. We want to take them home. So we decided that all of us were going to take them home and we were going to have a good old time. And I don't know what they did, but all of our mechanical babies were in sync. So we were like calling each other at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Like, did your baby cry? My baby cried. I'm so exhausted. And my mom, she treated it as if it was her own grandchild. She said, wake up, wake up. Your baby's crying. I'm like, I know, mommy, I know. Stick the key in it. Just stick the key in it and go back to sleep. Please, I'm tired. I've been up every half hour. Give me a break. She's like, nope, you wanted to bring this baby home. This baby is your responsibility. So wake it on up and feed your baby or change his diaper, whatever you had to do. And I'm like, no, mommy, please just stick the key. I didn't get enough sleep. So she's like, that's your baby. You're going to have to take care of it. And when I tell you, when I woke up the next morning, I was exhausted. I think that was the best experience for me and the best birth control ever, because after that experience, I didn't want a baby. I was like, that's it. I'm not having children. That's a wrap. When I tell you I was rolling around in my wheelchair in school with the baby in my lap and everything, falling asleep because we didn't get any sleep that night. It was ridiculous. I said, okay, this was the best birth control ever because I don't want a baby now. So I can only sympathize with you. I can definitely sympathize because that experience was hell. I'm not even gonna front. So I commend you. You are like the best mom today. So I commend you for that because that's a lot of hard work.
You got a D-stack speed? You got a D-stack speed? You got a D-stack speed?
What was the toddler stage like? Even though he's a toddler now, what was that like? Once he started walking and moving around.
When he first started walking and moving around, I thought it was so cute. I remember when he was, first born, and I would play with him, and I would say, I can't wait till he's old, and he starts talking. At first, it was very cute. Until he went into the stage of, he wants to destroy my house. He showed signs very young that he was going to be a tough cookie. Thing was, since he was so small, we would laugh it off. Now, I'm just like, he needs Jesus.
Oh my goodness. Oh no! Is it like past the terrible two stage now? I know like during the terrible twos, they're always saying no, 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 no.
Girl, it's been the terrible twos, the terrible threes, and if people say terrible fours don't exist, they liars because it exists.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I guess it's difficult too because you have a son. So it's that mom-son dynamic, you know? So I guess that's what makes it difficult. How do you like really handle, you know, and you being in the chair, how do you handle those timeout moments?
Honestly, being a disabled mom for me personally and being a single disabled mother, because I'm a complete single disabled mom. The father is not in the picture. He's a complete ghost. There is no timeout. I try very hard to discipline him. I try very hard to teach him timeout. But that little boy is a little Tommy Pickles. He has a mind of his own, you know, so I'm working with him the best way I can. The school that he's in, they're also helping me in the best way they can. And, you know, as a mother and as a daughter who has been raised in the ways of the Lord, all I can do is pray. You know, and leave things in the hands of God, and little by little, as he gets older and begins to understand a little bit more, work with him, you know, work with him in understanding him and, you know, not letting my past traumas pass on to him and just teaching him different ways on how to control and better his emotions.
I think that's an excellent idea. I'm always afraid that, you know, if I have a son or a daughter, when it's timeout moments, they'll like try to take my chair and put it on push so they don't have to listen. Does he do that?
He doesn't do it intentionally because he doesn't really know yet. The other day he went and did something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he accidentally took the brake off. And then I got mad because I couldn't move. So I'm like, put my chair back. And he came and he did it. So he listens. He has his moments, you know, but when he has the bad moments, unfortunately, they're bad. You know, and it's been hard. There's been a lot of tears shed. It's been hard.
I can definitely understand that. Does he understand, like, my mommy is different from everyone else's mommy? Does he get it yet?
I think in a way he does. I do tell him constantly that mommy is different. And I point it out to him a lot because he does notice other children. And for some reason now he's at a stage where he's noticing color. And I always try to remind him everybody is equal. Does not matter the color or the way people look. And speaking of that, I remember one time there was a little girl, and may God rest her soul. She had the sick, I forgot what it's called, but it's that disease where you get old before time. And,
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
So he noticed that little girl because when she passed away and I saw it come up on my social media, he got very, very scared of her. And that shook me a little bit. And I brought him close to me and I gave him a hug and I told him, Papi, she's a beautiful little girl. She's just different. He's like, no, mommy, please take the picture down. I'm like, no, I want you to look at her and I want you to understand that although she's different, she's still beautiful. And then he looked at her from she's like, she's beautiful. I said, yes, she's
Aww. So it's great that he's learning that there's differences, but even though there's differences, people are still who they are and you should love them all. So I'm grateful for that. I was always worried about that, so maybe I don't need to be so worried about it. But the discipline part, I know I'm worried about. I don't know. That's why I have my reservations about having children, because I just don't know. I don't know. Did your body change at all?
Besides the stretch marks, I would say no, thankfully. I made sure I ate very, very healthy. I lost my appetite. It was very rare that I caught a craving. The most cravings that I did have while pregnant were eating pickles with butter pecan ice cream, pizza, and maybe once or twice some Chinese food. But I completely lost my appetite. I ate a lot of fruit. I drank a lot of coconut water. I'm naturally about maybe the most I would go up to is 95 or 110. I went up to 120 exactly, and I made sure that I stood there because it's a myth when they say you're eating for two. No, whatever you eat, the baby eats. So I was not trying to overgain weight because then it would have been hard to lose it.
Yeah, and I assume it would have been hard to move around as well with CP and everything. So was that your weirdest craving? What was your weirdest craving? It was just the pickles?
Yeah, I would say it was the pickles. And my dad is a big fan of butter pecan ice cream, and I'm a complete daddy's girl. So my dad introduced me to butter pecan so young. So if it was not butter pecan ice cream with a pickle, I was not having it.
Oh, how did that taste?
Honestly, it tasted very good.
I would imagine it's like sweet and sour.
Yeah.
With a nut taste. Ugh.
It was like a savory mixed with sweet, you know, and it's like when you think about it, you might say ew, but the flavors complemented themselves quite nicely.
Okay, I think that's what you thought because you were pregnant. I don't think so, okay? I'm just saying. My taste buds is not craving for some pickle and peanut butter ice cream. It is not. So I think you were just craving that in the moment, you know, all the hormones. So I'm going to just give you that one.
Correction, girl. Butter pecan ice cream. Let's get it correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. Butter pecan ice cream. I'm very sorry, but I still don't think it goes with pickle. I don't care. That sweet and savory taste. Cause then it has nuts in it. So it's sweet, it's savory, and then nutty. No. Okay. No. That's too much. That's too much.
You got a D-stack speed. D-stack speed. D-stack speed. D-stack speed.
What are you doing now? You know, being a mom and raising your son. What are you doing for Janine now?
Well, let's be honest. When you become a mom, although they say self-care is very important, a lot of the times that does go out the window. Because when you become a mom, you're no longer living for you. You're living for your children, you know, and that's one thing that I've had to learn. That I still have goals, I still have ambitions, and I still have dreams. Yes, I do. That I plan to fulfill those dreams? Yes, I do. But my son comes first. And I've had to learn that I've had to put for now a lot of those dreams on hold and understand that I have a responsibility now. So when God says it's my time, then it will be my time. But in the meantime, I just try to enjoy him. You know, for now, we do Uber. We do Uber Eats.
What is that like?
Yeah, so me and him go out in my wheelchair and we go do Uber Eats. And I teach him at his little age of 4 years old how to make money. Because you know what? It's important to learn the value of money. And it's important to teach them that at a very young age. Of course, I wouldn't want him to be a fanatic because no, but he enjoys it. We get to go outside. We get to meet new people, you know, and whatever extra tips I get, I let him keep it. You know, and I tell him, save it for you. Because you know what? Regardless to the fact he might be sitting there and going for a ride, but he's helping me because he holds the bag or he wants to give it to the customer. So I teach him and we have a lot of fun doing it.
That's great. That is definitely great. And I think that's good. And it's teaching him at an early age to be helpful to anybody that needs help. So I think it's a great idea. And that's a great thing to do. What do you want to do in the future, you know, once your son gets a little bit older? Because I know you talked about sacrificing. Was sacrificing hard because you had him young? And I know when you have him young, it's like, okay, now I have to give up everything to help him. Was that a hard transition?
It was a hard transition. I've always been a home girl. I've always been a girl that my life was either at school or the mall or with my doggy. I am a big dog lover. That was my life. So Janine was always and is always very predictable. Maybe not now so much because, you know, I have a kid and things happen. But, you know, that was my life. Traveling, like I said, going to school, going to the mall, going shopping, and being with my dog. So once I had my son, that completely changed. I could no longer sit here and say, well, I have $60. I have $50. Let me go to Victoria's Secret and blow all the money. I can't do that anymore. You know, so little pleasures like that, I do miss. You know, and every now and then, if I get blessed with the opportunity, and now I know, now I've taught myself, don't buy anything unless it's on sale. So if every now and then I get blessed with the opportunity to at least buy myself a little something, I enjoy that. I call it now a little guilty pleasure. I enjoy it because once you become a parent, it's no longer about you. You have to make sure that their needs are met. And once their needs are met, then if you have a little something for yourself, then take care of your business.
See, I'm learning a lot about myself in this episode because I like to get up and go and do what I like to do. So that's why I kind of held off on having children too. I like to get up, go and come as I please. And I know that once I have a child, that's all gonna like stop to a certain degree. So that's why I say I commend you, because I don't think right now at this point in my life, I could sacrifice that much. I'm a little too selfish still.
Yeah, it is a lot of sacrifice. Before I had my son, I was doing a lot of modeling. I was competing in pageants. And I'll never forget the day that I told my dad I was pregnant. I broke that poor man's heart. It was on Thanksgiving. And he knew something was wrong, because every Thanksgiving I won't eat for the whole day to save room for the nighttime to stuff my face with food. And that day, I was so sad, and I took maybe a few spoons and I went to my room. So I come to the room and I left myself in the room, and he comes into the room. I'll never forget. He sits down on my computer chair, which was a very hard chair to sit on. So he sits down on the chair and he looks at me. He says, "Mommy, what's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing, papi." And then he broke me when he started saying, "Talk to me, because it's going to come a point in time where you're going to want to talk to me and I'm not going to be around anymore." So I started bawling my eyes out, because I am very sensitive. And I just told him, "Papi, I'm so sorry," and all I could say was, "Papi, please don't kick me out," because that was the first thing that came to my brain. And he just looked at me. He said, "Janine, are you pregnant?" And I just started crying, and I just kept saying, "I'm sorry." And he put his head down, and all he said was, "Janine, but look at everything you're doing, all your modeling, all your pageantry." And it hurt. It hurt me that I knew in that moment I hurt him, because as a parent, we have dreams for our children. So when us as children, we put those dreams on hold because of bad decisions that we made, we hurt our parents in the process. And it took a while for my father to come around. It took a very long time. But I gave him his space. Even though it was hard, because I lived in the same household with him, and as a daughter, and this is something a lot of people don't talk about, in my own way, I did feel ashamed, because I knew I hurt him. And I tried my best with my clothes to hide my stomach as it grew. And I gave him his space. And the only thing I could think of one day was when I went to find out what the sex of the baby was, I went to a 3D sonogram place, and they gave me a little teddy bear with his heartbeat and everything. So I went up to him, because I had to figure out a way to get my dad to come around, and I went up to him and I gave him the elephant. It was the elephant. And I said, "Hey, puppy, press this." He pressed it. I'm like, "What do you think that is?" He said, "A washing machine?" And I started laughing. I'm like, "No, press it again." "A car?" Like, "No, that's the baby's heartbeat." And right when I said that, I passed him the 3D pictures and I said, "It's a boy." He's like, "That's what the baby looks like?" I'm like, "Yeah." And that was the first time ever he saw a sonogram of my son. And at that time, I think I was about 5 months pregnant. And from that moment on, he came around.
Yeah, I think you're right. Parents, they want more for us, right? I remember my mom always saying, like, "I don't want you to get pregnant at 17, because I got pregnant at 17. So here's what we got to do. You hold on to your virginity, and I'll get you a sweet 16 party," So you're right. Like, parents do want more for their kids, but I think it's also important for you to remember that we have to live our own lives too, right? And your son was brought here for a reason, right? So your dad may feel like it was the wrong timing. You may feel like it was the wrong timing. God said, "Listen, I want him in the world. This is the time that I want him to come in." So even though I empathize with that feeling and I sympathize with it, understand that everybody has a different life path to take, and your life path is different from my life path. My life path is different, So he was meant to be brought here, and it was for a reason. You may not know what that reason is. You'll find out later. Everything happens, bumps and lumps along the road, but you made it out, and you're a phenomenal woman now, and you're doing great things now. You went back to school. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, I did. I went back to school. I finished my associate's degree. I started out for my bachelor's. I actually have 1 semester left.
Yay!
Yes, I need to re-enroll in school, and that is something that I am definitely planning on doing in January. And just pausing on that for 1 second and going back to what you said. Yes, my father actually one day looked at me and he said, "Janine, you don't understand this now, but that little boy was meant for you. He wasn't meant for anybody else. He was meant for you." And they're best friends now. That's his little papi. Don't mess with him. You know, so it's true what you say. Everything does happen for a reason. And because of that little boy, I am stronger. I'm able to tolerate things now that before my son, I would not have been able to tolerate. And the Lord has put me through the fire, but that's okay, because once I get out of that, I'm going to be so much stronger, and He will perfect what He started in me.
I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree.
You got a D-Stack speed?
Besides going back to school, you are doing a little bit of modeling. So talk about that a bit.
Yes, I actually got signed on to an agency. I actually did my first photo shoot for Party City. So that was very exciting. I had never experienced anything like that.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And, you know, I know better things are yet to come. You know, I don't know what God's plans are for me, but He knows what they are. And everything in His time.
I'm super excited to see what you have next.
You got a D-Stack speed?
Now it is time for the quote of the episode. And I usually like to leave my guests to come up with a quote that like pretty much embodies their lives, or, you know, something that they live by that they could pass on to other people.
The quote, or better said, the Bible verse. One of my favorite Bible verses is Mark 9:23. Believe in all things are possible. Because honestly, it's without faith, it's impossible to please the Lord. And if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will tell those mountains to move, and they shall move. And I've seen that in my life. You know, there's been things that I don't understand, but I hold on to my faith. And the Lord has shown me, you know what? Be faithful to me and seek me first and my kingdom, and everything else will be added on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, and that's something I live by too. So I am so grateful that you came on and shared your story. I know other people are gonna love your story just as much as I do. Thank you again for coming on. Where can people, you know, see what you're up to, see what you're doing?
You guys can definitely follow me on my TikTok at All Things JLS. You can also follow me on my Instagram at All Things JLS _. And I look forward to seeing you all and being a blessing to your lives and just inspiring you all with my daily activities.
Yes. And on that note, if you have any questions for me or Janine, you can send them to queensonaroll.podcast@gmail.com. Again, that is queensonaroll.podcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram. It's Queens on a Roll. We have a YouTube, obviously Queens on a Roll. And as well, we are on TikTok, so you might see a few TikTok videos coming from me soon. Thank you again, Janine, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. I love you so much. You have been such a blessing to my life.
Oh, thank you. Guys, if you would like to donate to Queens on a Roll podcast, I have a Patreon account. There's 4 tiers up there for you to choose from. I greatly appreciate it. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for the support. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. And we are rolling out. Bye, guys. See you next week.